That's right. With such a storm raging outside, why rush? Come, sit by the fire. This bottle of Toussaint Chateau Chimera has breathed just enough. Let me pour you a glass. Since the night is long, why don't we talk about the past? Not our adventures in Vizima or Novigrad, but stories far older. Where it all began. You know, sometimes looking at Geralt's stoic face, I forget how long he has lived. Long before Yennefer, Ciri, or I were even a thought, he was already walking this world we call the continent. He was younger then and lonelier than he is now. The world was wilder, more savage. To fight the monsters left behind by the conjunction of the spheres, humans created the Witchers. They were stripped of their emotions, or so the legends say, in exchange for the power to hunt beasts. Geralt always tried to tell everyone that he was completely neutral. He believed Witchers shouldn't meddle in human politics or quarrels, only swinging their swords for a few crowns. But that was just wishful thinking on his part. The most famous example is his encounter in Blaviken. There, he met Renfri, a cursed fallen princess, and a cowardly sorcerer hiding in a tower. Both sides forced him to choose, both telling him the same thing. Choose the lesser evil. Geralt refused. He wanted to stay out of it, but to stop Renfri from slaughtering innocent villagers, he eventually drew his sword. He killed them all in the marketplace, and the result? The people didn't thank him. Instead, they threw stones at him, cursing him as the butcher of Blaviken. You see, that was Geralt in those days. He tried to find a shade of gray in a black and white world, only to be burdened with the heaviest of infamy. It wasn't just about the killing, it was the underlying tone of his destiny. Remember how I said destiny was weaving its web in the shadows? The knot of that web was tied in Sintra, a kingdom once prosperous. Now nothing but ruins. But back then, it was the domain of Queen Calantha, the lioness. Geralt was invited to a royal betrothal feast. But little did he know, he wasn't there to enjoy the wine. He had been summoned by Queen Calantha to serve as a high-class hired blade. The queen wanted to borrow his sword to eliminate an uninvited guest. That guest was Duny, later known as the Urchin of Erlenwald. Cursed with the face of a hedgehog, he didn't crash the party to cause trouble. He came to claim a reward he had won years ago through the Law of Surprise, Calantha's daughter, Princess Pavetta. In this world, the Law of Surprise is an ancient and sacred covenant. You shall give me that which you find at home, yet expect not. Usually, this refers to a child. Chaos erupted in the hall. Knights drew their swords to kill the beast, while Princess Pavetta unleashed a terrifying surge of magical power. The first awakening of the elder blood. In that moment, Geralt made a choice once again. He didn't follow the queen's order to kill Duny. Instead, he stood by the cursed lovers, protecting the monster. To repay him for saving his life, Duny asked Geralt what he desired. Geralt, with that characteristic presumptuous cynicism of his, replied, "Let it be the law of surprise. That which greets you at home, of which you are yet unaware, shall be my reward." He thought it might be a horse or a pup, but he was wrong. In that moment, Pavetta was already pregnant. It was destiny's greatest mockery of him. He sought to escape fate, yet with his own hands, he bound himself forever to that unborn child Ciri. As the prophecy goes, the sword of destiny has two edges. One is you, the other is death. Geralt's story wouldn't be complete without mentioning that woman. Yes, you all know who I'm talking about. Yennefer of Vengerberg. Even though I am his friend, and even though I once held those feelings for him, I must admit, the bond between them was destined to be earth, shattering from the very start. One could even say it was a joke played by magic itself. It all started with troubled Geralt and his bard friend Dandelion. Stirred up by accident, they fished an ancient amphora out of a river, one that sealed a djinn, a powerful genie. Dandelion was injured. To save him, Geralt traveled to a town called Rind, where he met Yennefer. Back then, she was ambitious, perhaps even cold. She wanted to tame that djinn, hoping to use its power to cure her infertility, a price all sorceresses must pay. It was their first encounter, filled with deception, magic, and fierce confrontation. Yennefer used Geralt, trying to control the genie through him, but it nearly destroyed the entire city. In that moment between life and death, Geralt realized that only by making a final wish as the Jinn's master could he save Yennefer from being torn apart by the rampaging spirit. To this day, no one knows exactly what he wished for. Some say he wished for them to die together. Others say he wished for her to love him. But having read the accounts, I believe he wished for their destinies to be bound together. The Jinn vanished. Amidst the ruins they embraced. This wasn't a traditional fairy tale romance. It was a relationship full of arguments, breakups and reunions, as violent as a storm, yet impossible to sever. As Yennefer later said, "You are my destiny, but I don't know if you are my salvation or my ruin." This was the beginning of their endless entanglement, and the reason why, no matter what happens, they always find their way back to each other. Let's put the complicated romance aside for a moment and return to the child of surprise. Although Geralt had the right to raise Ciri, he didn't go to Sintra to claim her. He ran away. Even years later, when he passed by Sintra again, he chose to turn his back and leave. He thought he could cheat destiny. But destiny is a stubborn thing. It arranged their first true meeting in Brokilon Forest, the forbidden realm of the Dryads, where even squirrels hold their breath. Ciri was just a mischievous little princess back then. She had run into the forest to escape a political marriage and was nearly eaten by a giant centipede. The one who saved her was, of course, the passing Geralt. Even then, Geralt didn't realize that this little girl with ashen hair and emerald eyes was his child of surprise. They traversed the perilous forest together, with Ciri clinging to his back, chattering away. It was a strange yet heartwarming scene. A cold monster slayer, carrying a girl destined to destroy or save the world. When Aethin, the Queen of the Dryads, revealed Ciri's true identity to Geralt, he was shocked, but he still refused. Even when Ciri clung to him, refusing to let go, crying out, "I am not going anywhere else. You are my destiny," Geralt still sent her home, back to Mousesack and Sintra. He told Ciri that destiny alone is not enough. He thought that was the end of it. He had pushed destiny away for the second time, but he didn't know that in this world, the debts you owe to destiny must eventually be paid, and the interest is usually paid in blood and fire. Then the war came, not a minor border skirmish, but a full-scale invasion by the Nilfgaardian Empire. The Black Ones surged across the Yaruga River like a dark tide. Sintra was the first to fall. That tragedy remains a nightmare for the northern kingdoms to this day. It was the end of the proud Queen Calantha. To avoid capture, she threw herself from the tower as the castle was breached, and little Ciri disappeared amidst the fire and slaughter. When Geralt heard the news and rushed there, he found only ruins. He thought Ciri was dead. He believed that because of his rejection, destiny had punished the child. He wandered in despair and remorse, with nowhere to go. At the same time, I was facing the darkest moment of my life, the Battle of Sodden Hill. It was there that we, the Brotherhood of Sorcerers, along with the coalition of northern armies, tried to halt Nilfgaard's advance. It was a true meat grinder. Fireballs rained from the sky, and the earth screamed. 14 of my colleagues died on that hill, including the kind-hearted Coral. I was gravely wounded too, burned beyond recognition. They even thought I was dead, carving my name on the memorial, calling me the 14th of the hill. We won, barely holding the north. But the cost was immense. The world had changed, becoming crueler. And the Witcher, who thought he had lost everything, was on the road north, unaware that destiny was still waiting for him, waiting at the final stop to give him an answer called something more. Destiny is not only cruel, but sometimes full of irony. Thinking Ciri was dead, Geralt saved a merchant named Yerga in his despair, and once again casually invoked the law of surprise as his reward. The wounded Geralt, burning with fever, was taken to the merchant's home. He had no idea what awaited him. He thought it was just another moment to collect a debt, perhaps an unwanted child or a simple dinner. But when the merchant's wife told him she had taken in a little girl orphaned by the war, Geralt's heart must have skipped a beat. He stepped out of the cart and saw that little girl with ashen hair standing in the yard. In that moment, time seemed to stand still. Ciri screamed his name, ran across the yard, and threw herself into his arms. Geralt, the Witcher as hard as stone, held her tight. He had no reason to push her away ever again. Ciri wept in his arms, asking over and over, "Am I your destiny? Say it. Am I your destiny?" And Geralt gave that famous answer. The answer that changed everything. "You are more than just destiny, Ciri. You are more than just destiny. You are something more." Yes, from that moment on, they were no longer strangers bound by ancient laws. They became father and daughter. Geralt finally accepted his destiny, not to repay some law of surprise, but out of love. This marked the end of the short stories and the beginning of the truly grand, painful, yet magnificent saga, the main Witcher saga. The story turns a new page, and we arrive at Blood of Elves. Geralt took Ciri back to the Witcher stronghold, Kaer Morhen. It was the safest, yet loneliest place in the world. Imagine 4 gruff Witchers, Geralt, Vesemir, Lambert, and Eskel, trying to raise a little girl. They taught her the sword, fed her strange mushroom salads, and drilled her with a regimen that would kill a grown man. Ciri was tough. She never complained. She wanted to be strong. She wanted revenge. But there are things swordsmanship cannot solve. Ciri's nightmares grew more frequent, and the magical power stemming from the Elder Blood began to spiral out of control, frightening even the seasoned Witchers. Worse yet, much as I hate to admit it, those grown men had no clue how to take care of a girl hitting puberty. So Geralt asked for my help. Yes, it was finally my turn. I received Geralt's letter and braved the treacherous, snow-blocked mountain paths to reach Kaer Morhen. When I arrived, the scene was tragicomic. Ciri was wearing ill-fitting men's clothes, mortified because she didn't know how to deal with her period, while those Witchers just stood there like idiots. I gave them a fierce scolding. That might have been the angriest I've ever been in my life. I became Ciri's big sister. I not only taught her about being a woman, but also began trying to guide her magic. It was during that time I discovered Ciri was no ordinary child, not even an ordinary source. Her power was ancient and wild. I realized that with my abilities alone, I could never fully control it. It was a cozy yet worry-filled winter. We told stories by the fire, but we all knew this peace was fleeting, because the whole world was looking for Ciri. When winter ended, we had to leave. Kaer Morhen was safe, but it couldn't teach Ciri how to control such immense magic. We needed professional help, and Ciri also needed a proper education. That journey, honestly, was a nightmare for me. I am allergic to portals, so we had to ride. But I soon fell ill, burning with a high fever, barely able to stay in the saddle. If Geralt and Ciri hadn't taken care of me the whole way, I might have died on the roadside. The road was far from peaceful. We encountered the Scoria Tail, elven guerrillas fighting back against human oppression. In that skirmish, Geralt had to kill to protect us, and I was forced to use magic to defend myself. For the first time, Ciri saw true racial hatred. She saw how cruel those elves who shared her ancient lineage had become in order to survive. It was a massive shock to her worldview. Finally, we arrived at the Temple of Melidel in Ellender. It was run by High Priestess Nenneke, an old friend of Geralt's, a woman as stern as she was motherly. In the temple, Ciri finally lived a relatively peaceful life. She studied, read ancient tomes, and tried to be a normal girl, but I knew my abilities had reached their limit. Ciri's nightmares didn't stop. Her power was like a volcano ready to erupt at any moment. I had to admit that, much as I loved her, I couldn't teach her. Only one woman could do it. Only one woman had the power and was strong enough to tame that chaos. Yes! Geralt had to ask the one person he had been trying to avoid, yet could never forget Yennefer. Oh, that letter! You really should have seen it! Geralt, swallowing his pride to ask Yennefer to teach Ciri, struggled for ages, and finally wrote a letter starting with, "Dear friend." Yennefer, of course, didn't miss the chance to mock him. She wrote back a reply, dripping with sarcasm, repeating the phrase, "Dear friend," endlessly. But that is Yennefer for you. Sharp-tongued as she may be, when she learned Ciri was in danger, especially involving that uncontrollable power, she came. At first, Ciri didn't like Yennefer. Who would? Yennefer was strict, cold, and arrived with an air of superiority, mocking Ciri as a spoiled brat. Ciri called her that black-haired sorceress, her eyes full of hostility. But slowly, things changed. During their time at the temple, Yennefer discovered Ciri's talent was more than just amazing. It was power enough to change the world. She began to teach her everything she knew. More importantly, she saw through Ciri's tough exterior to the fear and loneliness beneath, the pain of losing her parents and her home. Although Yennefer couldn't bear children, in that moment she poured all her maternal love into Ciri. And Ciri, waking from a nightmare one night, finally stopped calling for Geralt and instead threw herself into Yennefer's arms, calling her Mama. That was when their bond truly formed, not because of Geralt's request, but because two souls equally proud, equally wounded found solace in each other in this cruel world. And from then on, we were no longer facing simple monsters, but true political intrigue. For the kings and spies of the world had caught the scent of the lion cub. Yennefer took Ciri from the temple to Gorsvelen, intending to attend the conclave of sorcerers on Thanedd Island. It was a grand gathering for mages from all over the continent, meant to be a place to discuss magic and peace. Geralt arrived too, marking a rare moment of reunion for the three of them. But I must admit, although the atmosphere that night was superficially glamorous fine wine, elegant gowns, magical fireworks, poison flowed beneath the surface. I was there with the other mages, but I was too naive, or perhaps too blind. I didn't see those sharpening their knives in the shadows. Spies of the northern kings, Nilfgaardian agents, and sorcerers who had already betrayed the Brotherhood were all waiting for their moment. Everyone wanted Ciri. She was the heir to Sintra and the carrier of the Elder Blood. Whoever possessed her possessed the power to rule, or even destroy, the world. At the banquet that night, Yennefer proudly presented Ciri to everyone, while Geralt watched everything vigilantly from the side. We thought we could solve problems through negotiation, thought that reason would triumph over greed, but we were wrong. The next morning, when the first rays of sunlight hit Thanedd, they brought no warmth, only blood and betrayal. That was the disaster known as the Thanedd coup. It utterly destroyed the Brotherhood of Sorcerers and tore Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri apart once again. It was hell when trusted friends suddenly hurl fireballs at you, when mages who are usually so noble slaughter each other like beasts. You know the world has gone mad. Vilgefortz, the most powerful of mages, revealed his true colors. He had colluded with Nilfgaard and the Scoia'tael to launch a coup. Tissaia, my mentor, and I tried desperately to maintain order, but everything spiraled out of control. Geralt, to protect Ciri, had to draw his sword once more. He cut a bloody path through the chaos, but ultimately faced Vilgefortz. It was a crushing defeat. That mage, with just an iron staff, using no magic at all, shattered Geralt's leg, broke his ribs, and threw him to the ground like a rag doll. It was the gravest injury Geralt had ever suffered, and his greatest humiliation. And Ciri, driven to desperation in her flight, ran into the legendary Tower of the Gull, Torlara. Inside was a highly unstable portal leading into the void. To escape capture, to avoid falling into the hands of those who would use her as a tool. She jumped in. The tower collapsed in a massive magical explosion. In that moment, the trio was utterly shattered. Geralt, near death, was saved by the Dryads. Yennefer was compressed into a jade figurine by Francesca, using a spell and taken away. And Ciri, she vanished into the turbulence of space and time, transported to the end of the world, the deadly land known as the Korath Desert. If the winter at Kaer was harsh, then the Korath Desert, famously known as the Frying Pan, was purgatory. Ciri was thrown there alone. No water, no food, just the scorching sun above and the bone-chilling cold at night. She wasn't even 15 yet. She wandered the desert for days and nights, surviving by eating insects, drinking morning dew, and even worse things. It was the ultimate test of will. In her hallucinations, she saw dead friends and mocking enemies. Her only companion was a lost little unicorn she named Little Horse. This sacred creature became her only emotional anchor in that dead land. However, the true trial came from within, to save the little unicorn bitten by a sand monster. Ciri attempted to draw magical power from the element of fire for the first time. It was forbidden fire magic, powerful, destructive, and full of temptation, Amidst that raging power, she saw the thrill of revenge, the possibility of ruling the world. A voice tempted her to become a queen like Falca, who had once destroyed everything. But at the last moment, facing the darkness that could consume her humanity, Ciri made a shocking decision. Out of fear and disgust, she even renounced her magical gift in that moment. That night, she wept in the desert, feeling she had nothing left. But she didn't know that it was this very renunciation that allowed her to keep the most precious thing of being human. Ciri didn't find rescue after escaping the desert. Instead, she fell into the hands of bounty hunters. But destiny intervened once again, leading her to a gang of teenage bandits who called themselves the Rats. It was a dark chapter of history, one I am reluctant to discuss, but must face honestly. Those children were all victims of the war, having lost their families and their moral compass. They took revenge on the world through robbery and murder, finding pleasure in it. Ciri joined them. To conceal her identity, she took on a chilling name, Falca. Yes, the name of the cursed bloody queen from legend. During this period, Ciri changed. She was no longer the witcher girl we taught at Kaer Morhen, who understood honor and restraint. She began to kill. Not just for survival, but sometimes to vent her rage, or to earn the cheers of her companions. She found a twisted sense of belonging among those outcasts, especially developing a complex and entangled relationship with a girl named Missel. At this time, Ciri indulged in the thrill of violence, trying to numb the pain of losing her parents and being abandoned by the world with blood. She was falling, dancing madly on the edge. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Geralt, barely recovered from his grievous injuries, had no idea his daughter had become a bandit. Leaning on a cane, he began to assemble his Hansa, his rescue party, in this war-scorched world. If Ciri's journey was a solitary fall, then Geralt's journey was a miracle of friendship. He set out thinking he would be a lone avenger, but he was wrong. Even in such chaotic times, there were those willing to stand up for a seemingly impossible goal. This group, later known as Geralt's Hansa, was perhaps the strangest combination on the continent. First, of course, was the ever-garrulous Dandelion. Though a burden in battle, he was indispensable for morale. Then there was Milva, the fiery-tempered yet kind-hearted archer, the best marksman outside of Brokilon Forest. The two most unexpected members were, well, first, Kaer, the Black Knight, who had tried to capture Ciri during the slaughter of Sintra. Geralt initially wanted to kill him, but Kaer proved time and again that he, too, loved Ciri and was there for redemption. The other was Regis. Oh, a true gentleman, a learned, elegant, and wise herbalist. It wasn't until much later that everyone discovered this friend, who only drank mandrake cordial, was actually a higher vampire. But that didn't stop him from becoming Geralt's most loyal and rational comrade. Add in Zoltan Shive and his dwarf brethren, and you had this motley crew. They traversed war-torn Edirn and Rivia, fighting armies on the bridge over the Yaruga. They fought not just to save Ciri, but to prove something in this mad world, that even with different races and backgrounds, as long as there is love and loyalty, people can stand side by side for a shared belief. Happy days are always short-lived, especially when that happiness is built on blood. Ciri thought she had found a home with the rats, thought she could solve everything just by swinging her sword. Surreal, but true evil came knocking. His name was Leo Bonhart. He was the most terrifying bounty hunter in the world, a demon who took pride in killing witchers. He was not only highly skilled, but reveled in it, devoid of any mercy. In a small village called Jealousy, Bonhart faced the entire Rats gang alone. It wasn't a battle, it was a slaughter. Those teenage bandits who had been such a headache for the local sheriff were like lambs to the slaughter before Bonhart. When Ciri arrived, it was all over. Her friends, including Missel, whom she loved dearly, lay in pools of blood. Ciri drew her sword in a rage and charged at Bonhart, but she lost. She lost completely. Bonhart didn't kill her. To him, a living Ciri was more valuable and more amusing. Right in front of her, he brutally sawed off the heads of all the Rats members as proof for his bounty, forcing Ciri to watch it all. And that wasn't the end. Bonhart put a collar on Ciri, treating her like a dog. He forced her to kill for sport in the arena, destroying her dignity, trying to break her will. It was the darkest, most humiliating time of Ciri's life. The once proud princess of Sintra, the child of prophecy, was now just a slave on a chain held by a demon. But Bonhart made a fatal mistake. He thought shackles and fear alone could tame a lioness of the elder blood. He forgot that Ciri was raised at Kaer Morhen. Flowing in her veins was not just royal blood, but the resilience of a witcher. During a chaotic moment, Ciri escaped, though grievously wounded and marked with the scar that would stay with her for life. She was finally free. She was saved by an old philosopher living as a hermit in the swamp by Sagoda. During her recovery, the old man taught her something more important than swordsmanship: how to control her anger and use her wisdom. When Bonhart and Skellen's mercenaries tracked her down, Ciri didn't run anymore. She lured them to a frozen Lake Tarnmira. It was a textbook Witcher battle. Even though Ciri hadn't undergone the mutations, thick fog blanketed the lake, and she strapped ice skates to her boots. In that frozen world, she was the master. She wove through the mist, reaping enemy lives like a ghost. The clumsy mercenaries slipped and screamed in terror on the ice, while Ciri washed away her humiliation with their blood. Although she didn't manage to kill Bonhart that time, Ciri successfully reached the legendary destination, the Tower of the Swallow. It wasn't just a tower, it was a gateway to other worlds. With a blinding flash of light, Ciri vanished. She left this world full of pain and entered the elven realm of the ANL. But little did she know, it was another prison. A gilded cage, more magnificent, but far more dangerous. Ciri thought she had found sanctuary, but in reality, she had jumped from the frying pan into the fire. The world she arrived in was the home of the ANL elves, the lair of those we would later come to fear as the Wild Hunt. The rulers there wanted to exploit Ciri's elder blood. They hoped she would bear a child with the ability to traverse space and time, enabling the elves to conquer all worlds. What a cold, grandiose ambition, reducing a living person to nothing more than a breeding vessel. But with the help of the unicorns, Ciri did not submit. Her powers fully awakened in that world. She became the true lady of space and time. She escaped and began a journey that even the maddest sorcerer couldn't imagine. She jumped between countless worlds and countless points in time. She saw dead planets covered in white frost, future worlds with flying iron birds and towers of glass. She was looking for a way home, a way back to Geralt and Yennefer. This wasn't just an escape, it was the weaving of destiny. Every jump, every moment of being lost, was guiding her back to the final battlefield, Stygga Castle. Because there, Vilgefortz, the architect of all this misery, held Yennefer captive, waiting for the final sacrifice. All threads finally converged at one point, Stygga Castle. Geralt stormed in with his Hansa, and Ciri, guided by instinct, teleported there as well. That battle was an epic for heroes and a graveyard for them too. Milva, the fierce huntress, fell to an enemy arrow. Kaer, the black knight Ciri once feared, faced Bonhart alone to buy her time to escape, fighting until his last drop of blood was shed. And Gulmime, that wild girl who hadn't even grown up, died there too. Most tragic of all was Regis. The immortal higher vampire, in an attempt to save Yennefer, was melted into a puddle of blood by Vilgefortz's magic, his very soul scorched. They all died. For a girl they shared no blood with, for a promise, they left their lives in that accursed castle. But their sacrifice was not in vain. Geralt, the Witcher who had lost all his comrades, unleashed a terrifying power in the final moment. Exploiting an opening Ciri created, Geralt struck the blow that ended it all, severing the Mad Mage's head. On the other side, Ciri killed Bonhart with her own hands, reclaiming her medallion, the Catskool medallion, and her dignity. The family of three was finally reunited. Amidst the hall strewn with corpses, they embraced tightly, but the cost was truly too high. You'd think that after defeating the great villain, the story would end with, and they lived happily ever after, right? This isn't a fairy tale. This is the world of the Witcher. The war was over. Geralt, along with Yennefer and Ciri, went to Rivia, intending to share a drink with their dwarf friend Zoltan. But on that seemingly peaceful afternoon, a racial pogrom against non-humans erupted. Geralt, the legend, who had slain countless dragons, vampires, and mad mages. The man who had just saved the world didn't die by a monster's claw or magical blast. To protect his friends and stop the frenzied mob, he was pierced through the chest by a pitchfork wielded by a common peasant, a pitchfork covered in manure. I was there in that moment. I summoned Merigold's hailstorm to stop the riot, but I couldn't stop death's approach. Yennefer gave everything she had, draining her own life force trying to heal him until she too collapsed by his side. It was an ironic ending, yet incredibly real. Just as the prophecy foretold, the white wolf died on 3 teeth. In the end, the unicorn appeared. Ciri summoned a boat with magic and took their bodies, or perhaps their dying forms, away. She took them to the Isle of Avalaf, to Avalon, a place with no pain, where it is always spring. That was the final kindness Ciri could offer these two star-crossed lovers. Many thought the story ended there. That tragic, regret-filled ending was sung by bards for a long time. But a legend is a legend because it refuses to die. Destiny gave us a second chance. Geralt returned, I returned Yennefer, Ciri. We all came back. Despite amnesia, the pursuit of the wild hunt, and the battle against the white frost that threatened to freeze the world, we fought another long, hard war, the new adventures you know so well. But this time, the ending is different. Just look around. Here we are in Toussaint, Corvo Bianco. No screaming monsters, no political intrigues, just the sound of grapevines rustling in the breeze. Ciri is free. Whether she chose to be a witcher or an empress, it was her own choice. Yennefer and I, we found our peace too. And you, Geralt, you can finally lay down your swords. Not fighting to survive anymore, but living to live. Some say a witcher's story must end in blood and tragedy. But I prefer this version. True victory isn't about how many dragons you slay. It is about weathering all the storms and still being able to sit by a warm fire with the ones you love, having a drink, and telling stories of the past. The story is done, and the bottle is empty. Thank you for listening to my ramblings for so long. Good night, Geralt of Rivia. Good night, my friend. This long life was worth it.